there is something we need. It's a leap of faith, a step away from the comfort zone and be a little brave. So take a look around you. How far can you see? How far do you think you can run, standing on your knees? It's a beautiful world out there, just don't pass on the dare.
How's everybody today? Anybody in the mood to paint a sunflower? This is a commission that I have. It's actually to paint a bigger one. And I always like to paint smaller ones and do it a few times to get a good feel for the colors. So we're gonna go from here. Let's see here. So this person wanted a sunflower, and I've done a few of these in acrylics, and I've done one in a watercolor. They wanted more of like a traditional sunflower, maybe with a little bit more of the reds and the golds, and a grayish background. So I'm going to do a small scale one, and then we'll go ahead and do a bigger one at another time. So I'm going to start by getting my paints all happy. Let's get them spritzed down. I'm going to pull it away from the paper. Got the paints all getting happy now. I'm drinking some coffee. And it's a beautiful day. So this should be a fairly simple design. Let's see, let me find my brush. I'm going to start with my Princeton Snap round number 6. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start by laying down some colors here. I'll do like a light brown. Let's see, I will mix up some yellow ochre. Some yellow ochre. Remember, with watercolors, you always want to go from light to dark because you can't lighten it up. Watercolors are transparent. That's probably a good one. A little more water in here. For this first step, I'm just going to lay down a really light wash of color right in here. And that's where all those yummy seeds come from. And I am actually using hot press paper, Arches hot press. I normally use cold press, but I've been playing with this hot press and I kind of like it. And I did do a pencil sketch, which I probably should lighten it up, but I did a pencil sketch a few days ago. It's just going to give me kind of a rough idea. I think I am going to actually lighten that up a little bit. So the hot press will give you a little bit of a different look. Not a bad look, it's just different. Eraser. I think I'll lighten up these lines just a little bit. If you see, I have like you barely see it. I have a black piece of paper here. It's covering up another sketch that I've done. So with these kneaded erasers, what works so good is you can just like roll it. You see, as I'm doing now, I'm just rolling it over, and it just lightens it up. It doesn't take it away. It can take it away, especially on this hot press paper, which is really, really smooth. I could take those lines completely away. But I'm not. I want to have a little bit of a guideline. As you can see, it works really, really well. And again, that's one thing I do like about the hot press paper is I can erase these lines, not once I've painted over them. Then that paint kind of locks it in. But I can erase these lines on this paper almost to nothing where you can't even see them. And cold press, because of the texture, doesn't quite do that all the way. So this flower is a really good flower to do as a beginner. You can use your imagination. You can make it all kinds of crazy. You can be as free with it as you want. I'm going to do a lemon yellow, just again block down this color for these leaves. And because I'm trying to film this, I'm not painting in a natural, and how I would normally paint. Normally I paint very close to my body, but because I have this camera here, I'm painting a little bit different. We'll see if it works or not. Again, this is just to block in some color. I don't really care if it's perfect. It's not gonna be, it's watercolor. You just go with it. Lay down the colors more on the edges. Get in, and then I'll pick up a little bit of water and blend that color out. You could do some wet and wet. I'll do one leaf like that so you can kind of see how it does with this hot press paper. A little bit more down on the sides. So my whole goal is, I have not been able to get a good filming setup. So I'm trying this out. I've actually made a schedule of how often I'm going to be painting, because I don't paint as often as I'd like to. Life happens. Most of you guys know I live in an RV. We travel a lot. Our job is camp hosts, so we don't always have time that's free. We have a lot of free time, but it's not, you know, we could be sitting here watching TV, or I could be painting, and the camper might need some help, so I would have to kind of drop what I'm doing. So it makes it a little bit hard to film. So I actually made out a little schedule, and I've already failed at it. I was supposed to do this painting. I'm supposed to do these two paintings. I have two I'm filming today. I was supposed to do those yesterday. And things happened and we couldn't do them yesterday. So I'm doing it today. So I'm going to do two, but it puts me a day behind. Maybe I can make it up another day. And then this picture I'm planning on uploading in September. So my goal is to film 3 days a week, maybe 1 to 2 pictures, just depending on what I'm doing, and then upload them, have 3 uploads a week, the entire month of September and October. I'm just curious how that will affect some of the YouTube algorithms. And then I will also be uploading these to my Patreon, along with the pencil sketches, supplies, and no ads. So if you're interested in watching this with no ads, the link for the Patreon is in the description. Oh, I hear Oscar's giving me some fits right now. So again, this first step, not super important to be too precise. You're just laying in some background color. And depending on what you're painting, this can be important or not as important. You know, if you're painting a bigger scene, you may want to definitely pick out those places where it's really light, and you want to work from light to dark. So now I'm just blocking in a little bit of a darker yellow for these back leaves. Back petals, I guess is what they are. cadmium yellow. I'd have to look at my little chart, but I'm pretty sure that's what that one is. I'm just gonna block that in. I'm gonna mix a couple of my browns together right now. Probably not on screen. I have my palette off to the side and I'm just mixing up a darker brown. I'm just going to kind of bring that in here. This is just creating more layers. Textures. The side of the brush, the belly of the brush, kind of just giving a little texture, which a lot of this texture will disappear as the paint dries, but then you build on it. And I'm doing it as a lefty, which is not easy. Let's see if I can do it this way. I'm not a lefty. It's funny, there's a lot of people that can paint with both hands, right and the left. My mom is pretty good at doing both. I'm not going to add a whole lot right here because we're still working on these petals. Again, I'm just doing that, building some texture. Texture, some dimension. Mixing in the paint and then I'm dabbing it off, so I'm getting an almost like a dry brushing technique. Paint's not super juicy right now. And even if it was, say I made a mistake here and I put in the wrong color or I laid it down too heavy, I could still, it's still very workable. I could dab it. But while I'm doing this, those yellow petals are getting nice and dry, so then I can go ahead and lay down some more colors. It's starting to not look quite so flat. Rinse my brush off. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and work on these forward petals first. So it's these big ones I'm going to work on first. I'm going to deepen that color. Here we go with that medium yellow. I've got a little pink on there, why not? Put a little pink in there with it. Let's do a little orange there. And now I want to knock that down. I don't want it quite so bright, so I'm going to throw in just a teeny bit of that brown. More yellow. Again, now I'm going in for more of the mid-tones. So some of these areas here I want to keep a little bit lighter. I'm just going to go in. Again, doing a real light, more water than paint. These petals a little bit of dimension. Petals will have lots of layers on it. The bottoms are always going to be a little bit tighter. bit darker. And most of the time when you're painting, you go through these periods where it looks really ugly, like this right now. It's like, ugh. Sherry, what are you thinking? When you're just learning, I am totally self-taught. I am not an artist by any means. I am not a professional. I did not go to school for this. But a lot of times when you're just learning and you're playing with the paints and you're playing with the colors, this is the point where you go, this doesn't look like what your brain thinks it should look like. So this is where a lot of times people start pitching their paintings. And they're like, I can't do this. You can do this. I promise. And it's just paint. If you're not enjoying it and having fun with it, don't do it. But remember, it's just paint. It's just paper. It should be fun. Don't put the stress on yourself that it's going to have to look like a masterpiece, because it's not. Especially if you're just learning how to do it. Something simple like the sunflower is definitely a good thing to try as a beginner. Coffee. Because you're only working on a very small area. I would not tell anybody that's just learning to start with expect to do a big picture, big, painting. That's you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. There's a lot of techniques you have to learn. And so try different papers. Again, this is a hot press. I've not done a sunflower on a hot press before. I've done one other sunflower in watercolor, and I did that on a cold press, one of my little sketchbooks. I'm just going to block in this back one a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more color to him. Too dark, but that's okay. I'll add some water, we'll lighten it up. It's all good. So I would say, buy the paints that you can afford. Buy the best paper you can afford, because it does make a difference. But other than that, just play with the colors. Sometimes when I'm feeling uninspired or like everything I'm painting is wrong, I will just paint something abstract. So that way it has to be wrong. The whole point of it is to not look like what it's supposed to look like. And it gets you out of your mindset a little bit. See how I can lighten that up if I wanted to? Smooth that out. That's actually pretty good. Don't put the pressure on yourself to make it look like a masterpiece. If your paintings are not looking the way you want them to look, that's okay. If you're getting frustrated with it, put it away for a little while. And maybe try to paint something totally abstract. Some of my best things I've done came because I was frustrated. Wasn't happy with how things were coming out, so I put it away. I painted some crazy wildflowers. So you can see with this hot press, it doesn't bleed the same. And actually my next flower is going to be hot pressed too. But I'll have to show you one with the cold press. But he's coming along. I'm working on trying to get all the colors a little bit looser. I don't want it quite so look looking like it's I like the watercolors to be a little bit more loose. So that's one of the beauties about watercolor is it's not quite so sketched out and planned. I think as far as the petals go, I'm going to stop with those for right now. I want to do the background before I get too much more into the petals. And I'm just going to add another layer of this brown. Deepen up the seed area. Give it a little bit more texture. I think this is probably with the third layer I've done. And that's something else that's so great with watercolors, is you can just go layer over layer. There's that left-handed brush strokes. It's working. Not working great, but it's working. I'm avoiding the petals right now. One is they're still damp, and while hot press doesn't bleed quite the same, it still would bleed. And I do want it to bleed at a certain point, but I'm not ready for that point yet. I want to get more colors into those petals before I let it bleed. But yeah, it's starting to come together. With just a wet brush. Blend that in a little bit so there's not quite such a line. I want a little bit of a line, but I don't want it to be a harsh line. I'm actually going to put a little bit of that yellow in there. And that was just a little bit of Payne's gray. Snuck in towards the center. So I'm going to start working on my background wash. And I'm trying to think of what colors. They want a gray background, and I think last time I used mainly Payne's gray. Let's see, I'll start up here. So I'm going to start by putting a little bit of water down. And I'm going to make sure I have my towel handy. So if I have to dab, I can dab. I got my Payne's gray is very juicy, but I don't want too much water. I don't want it too wet. There we go. I'm just going to move that around a little bit. And I want to cause layers. Create some layers here, so some texture. I'm going to blot that off. I'm going to go back in, more water. Get pretty close to those petals. Again, this is watercolor. I'm not trying to be perfect. If it bleeds in a little bit, it bleeds in a little bit. Blot it off, get a little bit more texture going. After I get a lot of the color kind of laid down, right now I'm just doing like the light wash. I'll go in and add some darker, give it a little bit more contrast. Break up those brush strokes a little bit. I have noticed the hot press makes it a little bit harder to do backgrounds. I'm also working on a block. So if you're not sure what a block is watercolor paper that is sealed on all four sides, kind of stacked one over top of another, and then on the edges it's kind of got a binding on it. And it has one little keyhole opening at the top, and so when I'm ready to take this off, if I want to ship it or pull it off so I can use the next page, I just stick a palette knife in that little slot and I kind of peel that paper away. will go over this with a glaze to kind of take some of these lines out. But again, this is watercolor, not meant to be perfect. And a lot of times I think we have these expectations that it's supposed to look a certain way. And one thing I've learned is don't expect it to look the way you actually might think it's going to look in your little mind's eye, because it doesn't always come out that way. I'm liking that. It's coming along. I'll work more on the petals now. The water's nice and it's getting dirty. It is a beautiful day. Go ahead and do a little bit more of a glaze over this. Bring those colors together. Using that medium yellow. Something else to remember is watercolor dries much lighter. So you always can go a little bit bolder with the colors because you know it's going to dry a little bit lighter. It's good and wet. We go in now and just throw in some more shadows. It's okay if it gets down in that beginning part into that flower head. I am okay with that. It's perfectly fine. It's dry already. Now I want to deepen up these ones in the back. So I'm going to pull out some of this orange. That's so pretty. Nice and vibrant orange. And then I'm going to pull in just a little bit of purple. You're like thinking, purple? What in the world? Why would you put purple in your orange? Well, it's kind of a way to do shadows without doing a gray. So you will do the complementary color, which if you look at the color wheel, I'm going to go with the color that is across the wheel from orange. You would have purples and blues. So what that does is it gives it darkness, and then I will go over it with a glaze and brighten it back up. But it's great for shadows. It's a good way for you to make a shadow that's not gray. Everybody thinks a shadow should be gray. Most of the time, I do not do gray shadows. Most of the time, my shadows are a mixture of whatever that base color is that you're using, and then the color that's opposite on the color wheel. And it might be helpful for you to paint out a color wheel until you get accustomed to that. And even after you're accustomed to it, sometimes it's good to look at it. I like to do a lot of my backgrounds with the opposite color too. Right, letting that dry just a little bit, and I wanted to show you the other one I did. Now this is on cold pressed, so there you go. Very very similar. That was all cold pressed. There's a little bit more texture to it. Look at these colors more deep. These are the petals that are kind of in the back, not able to be seen as clearly. They got a little shadow going on them. You really don't get tied up with the colors, or don't let the coloring really get to you, because make this your own. You can make these. Imagine this would be really kind of abstract and cool. You could do it in pinks and purples and blues. They don't always, a flower doesn't always have to look like what you see in nature. And if you're getting caught up in the, it doesn't look like what you expect, sometimes it's good then to just do that and say, I don't want this to look like a sunflower, but kind of like the shape of the sunflower. It's an easy shape to paint. So I'm going to do my flower in, I'll do it in pink, hot pink. I'll do it in purple. Shoot, why don't you just branch right out there and do blue? So your painting, it's coming out of your head. And if you're, you know, let's say you're having a rough time and maybe you're a little down, and painting is a great way if you're a little sad, a little anxious. Painting is a great way to kind of relieve that stress. Kind of takes you to another place. When I'm painting, I'm not really thinking about anything other than painting. Now I'm sitting in a window. Got beautiful trees around me. I'm watching the hummingbirds. We've got some new hummingbirds, and they are being a little bit of a mischievous. So it's been fun watching them because they're just, we've got our same 2 or 3 to hang out with us all the time. I'm actually bringing in, if you saw, this is actually a little bit of just straight out purple. We've got the same few hummingbirds that have been hanging with us all summer, and I think we got some new ones, must be maybe migrating. We're along their migrating path, and they are little bullies. So our little hummingbirds have been bullied. They don't like to have to share their feeder. So it's been pretty funny watching them. One will be at the feeder and another one will want to fly in and push the other one out. They don't like to share. I guess there's bullies everywhere. People can be bullies, animals are bullies. It's just how it is. I'm rambling today. I don't know if I want y'all to hear all my innermost thoughts as I'm rambling along painting. Normally I just sit in it's quiet and I just paint. And guys are out there mowing, so hopefully you won't hear too much of that. But really all I'm doing now is I'm just going in and I'm just layering up more colors, giving it a little bit more depth. I'm sticking to my same core colors that I used. So we have some oranges in here. me grab my littler brush. I have a problem. I have a brush obsession. Oh, and I just remembered. I just got new brushes. And I'm not even using them. Ha! I will have to rectify that in my next one. Oh, there it is. He's hiding. So I'm gonna use, this is a Princeton Snap also. It's a round. And it is a size 0. And that is a super tiny brush. But I want to get in and I want to intensify some of this in here, some of these little areas. So I want a littler brush to get in here and get a little bit of that detail. And then I'm going to feather that gray out. And get a little closer. That's going to be a little too much. And if you're not sure if you're going to have if it's going to be too dark, you can always wipe off the paint that's on your brush and then go in and just add a little bit of water. Like this is all water right now. So I'm just adding in some water. And then I will go back in and get the color. And I'll lay down the color. Water's your friend. Remember, it's watercolor. There. So I think I've done enough with that brush. So I've laid him off on the side. I really want to make these leaves a little bit more, or these petals a little bit more loose, a little bit more flowy. Okay, if it goes up into the background. I think I actually want it to go up into the background a little bit. You see I'm taking it up into it. I'm kind of going to blur that line of background. That's the one good thing too about watercolors. Watercolor, this is still workable. I just bled that up there. I want it to kind of run together. I don't want it to look like I just stamped the sunflower on here. I want it to have movement and life, and I'm gonna try something. It'll either work really good or it'll be a disaster. I'm thinking I want to do a whole wash, a really, really light wash of color. I have my mop brush. Here we go. Let's see how that goes. Trying something new. I'm going to wash it over with my big mop brush. Just a really dilute yellow ochre. Did it work? That actually did work. Now I just have to darken up my core area. Let that dry. So we're going to let that dry, and then I will come in and I will darken that up. But I like that. That actually gave it kind of a sepia look. It's pretty awesome. So a little tip, if you have an old ratty brush, and this actually was, I made it like this on purpose. I used Frisket, not biscuit, Frisket, and molded these little crazy edges on an old brush that really wasn't very good anyway. You can do that, and then you let it dry, and then you get this crazy brush, and it will help with some texture. So now I'm going in and trying to add a little bit of texture. These are just a couple shades of brown I'm using. There's some orange. It's a little too wet. I don't like that. A little bit. Water is your friend. Also with a little bit of Payne's Gray. Again, trying just to add some dimension. I think he's done. So very easy, not a hard painting to do. Make it your own. I think it would be awesome to see some of you guys try this with different colors. So don't just necessarily make it look like a sunflower. Let's make it look like something else. Use your imagination. Take the pressure off by not making it look like what you think it's supposed to look like. So we think of the sunflowers as yellows and orange and reds. That's awesome. But if you're struggling with trying to make things look the way you think they should look, switch it up and try a different color. And sometimes that alone will just be the breakthrough that you need to unleash that creativity and relax a little bit, get a little bit loose with your painting. I hope you enjoyed this, and again, if you'd like to see the ad-free version, or you would like to get the template that I sketched out, be sure to join Patreon. The link is in the description. It's growing right now. I'm just now starting to add content to it, so if you get in there now, you will be in on the ground level. And again, my plan is to be doing this, uploading about 3 videos a week all through September and October, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Maybe we'll keep up and do that pace, or maybe I'll even increase it and do a video every day. I don't know. Do some lives, do some member-only lives. We'll see. Thanks again for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment, because YouTube likes that. And when YouTube is happy, it makes me happy. So you all have a wonderful day. Thanks again.
If there is something we need, it's a leap of faith. A step away from the comfort zone and be a little brave. So take a look around.